I can tell you something about this place. My boys call it the Black Lagoon, the paradise. Only they say nobody has ever come back to prove it.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff.
And welcome to B-cember.
B-cember.
B-cember, bitches. And for this is a holiday, actually. It's Happy Holidays. B-cember is part of that holiday.
B-cember to remember.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Honda event. Yeah.
It's the Toyota-thon.
That's Happy Honda Days, Monica.
Shit. This is the Toyota-thon of Spooky Tuesday, though, for sure. For sure.
And so to
December, Black Friday, it's all the reason for the season, baby. What am I saying? Keep going.
Why don't we do black comedies for every end of Thanksgiving for Black Friday? Black Tuesday.
That's a good idea.
That is
Next year.
Next year. Write that down, Chelsea. Write that down.
Yeah, we did do that. We did do Tea Thanksgiving that one time. That was a black comedy. So
and we
that
did do
actually was
Malignant
the inaugural
this year,
event. So
right?
something
Malignant
to consider.
could be a black comedy.
Very black.
It was very funny. They had black hair. It counts.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go. Yeah. But B-cember, though, we have a theme for this and we know what we're doing, and it's B movies. But Sydney, what is it this week?
Well, we're kicking off this glorious high holy day with the OG B movie, which is The Creature from the Black Lagoon. And it's not even The Creature, it's Creature from the Black Lagoon. But I keep saying The Creature from the Black Lagoon. I don't know why.
You're giving him his, stateliness that he deserves.
Yeah, it's like
he
the Ohio
He's
State
not a creature. He's the creature.
Exactly.
He's that bitch.
I appreciate you respecting him the way that he deserves to be respected. So thank you, Sydney, for being reverent. We'll be reverent about this one thing.
Just this once. And okay, since maybe listener, if you, like all three of us, had also never seen this movie before, the IMDb tagline is, "A strange prehistoric beast lurks in the depths of the Amazonian jungle. A group of scientists try to capture the animal and bring it back to civilization for study." That's it. That's the entire plot of the movie.
That is the whole entire plot of the movie.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that goes on in it, but it's not about that. It's about the vibes, I would have to say.
You know what it is about, actually?
What?
Having two men in tiny little swim trunks on for as much screen time as humanly possible.
Sure.
What this movie actually is about is having three men fight over you. One is hot and maybe blonde. It's hard to tell because it's in black and white.
Mark
one
is blonde.
And he's your boyfriend.
David is
and
brunette.
one
Dave,
he's a
there's
Guillermo.
bad. Oh my God.
The balloons came back. The balloons came back. The Hell House balloons came back. What the fuck? I said boyfriend. Boyfriend. What is it? What's happening? That's so weird. And it's in black and white. The balloons were in black and white. At least the balloons weren't in color. That would have been even
cool.
I thought
more
they were spooky ghosts at first.
Oh my God. I feel
Tell
sick
the
now.
ghost that's haunting your laptop or your Zoom that it's not appropriate for this episode.
Yeah, come
this
on.
is a
There
creature
aren't
feature.
clowns in this one. This is about the Gill Man, and it ruined my joke. Okay, my this is my joke. The third man that's fighting over her is the Gill Man.
That's the joke. That's the plot.
I know, but I was trying. It was like a funny thing to say, but it got ruined by the ghost. Fuck you, ghost curse. You ghost.
You're right.
You
I'm sure
ruined
if it weren't for the balloons.
It would have been hilarious.
It would have been
would've
impeccable
Listeners,
timing.
No, it was very funny.
I was gonna mention this to you guys earlier, and then I was like, we can have this conversation during the episode. I saw a TikTok earlier from a person I'd never seen before, but they had like 100,000 followers. They were talking to their Gen Alpha sister and sister's bestie. They said Slay is out. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I heard that.
I feel like the children are not in charge though, and why would we let them be in charge?
I'm an
But
adult and I can
also-
do what I want.
I don't give a shit. Sorry, like I'm gonna be cringe and chuggy or
If it
whatever.
slays, I'm gonna say slay.
Yeah,
It is.
slay.
Did
And
you
I
say if
literally,
it's
my first
Riz,
note-
I'm gonna say slay? Is that what you just said?
If it's
No, I
slay,
said if it
I'm gonna
slays.
say slay.
My
Oh,
first
oh, oh,
note
oh. I
for
thought you
this
said if
movie
it's
when I was
Riz. I was like-
watching, my first note for this movie, Big Bang Slay. I'm sorry, it was. What am I supposed to do if it's slay? Not say
Not
slay?
acknowledge that
I
it was
have
slay.
to be honest. I have to be true to myself and to the art that we're discussing.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest that if I ever say slay and I get called out by a Gen Alpha or Gen Z motherfucker, I'm gonna blame Chelsea. I literally didn't say it like maybe ever at all until we all went to Alabama and you said slay 1,000 times. So now I say slay every day, like 15 times.
If it's a
I
slay, it's a
absorbed
slay.
it
Yeah.
from you.
I love saying slay, as you know.
Look, yeah, I mean, I'm sure one day I'll move on as well, but
Got
that
it.
day is not now. And
It's been years at this
I
point.
don't
It's
do
embedded in my brain.
anything else in my life based on what 14-year-olds think is cool. That's when I did have one period of time where I was like working with kids and I was like, I'm gonna wear my Olivia Rodrigo sour bracelet and they're gonna think it's cool. And nobody ever did. So I gave up on that really fast.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I love when the teens tell me that I dress cool.
Uh-huh.
I do not give a shit what they think if I'm saying the
If they think it's uncool, guess what? I'm
Yeah.
actually in charge of what's cool around these parts.
Yeah, I
You
just
get to appoint yourself. I'm appointing myself as in charge. There are the balloons again. What's going
What is
on?
going on? I don't like this. I don't like it one bit. I mean, to what you've said about Slay being out, to that I say, fuck you. The Gill Man is Slay. And if the Gill Man is Slay, then Slay can't be out. So I think that that's great logic.
He's a timeless
Slay is in.
classic.
He's a timeless classic.
therefore-
Slay is a timeless classic.
Yeah.
but also like Gilman is the moment. Like, have you seen his like injectable lips constantly gaping, doing the like
What did you just say? Yeah, I
Like-
did notice his gaping lips.
yeah, he's literally doing fish mouth, which is an
okay,
invented
Instagram
it.
trend.
he did.
He
He did
started
invent
that.
it.
He started it.
I mean, that's the whole thing of this entire movie. Like we were saying, or I was saying at the end of last episode, like when you think of horror, you think of like 3 or 4 things. It's mostly the universal monsters. If you think of classic horror, this is the top 4. It's like Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, and this guy. And also the other thing that I thought this entire movie, it was really hard to watch this movie, honestly, in a post Shape of Water world. Because I was
Mm.
like, he's hot. When are they gonna fall in love? He's hot. Gilman is hot. When are they gonna fall in love? And then I was like, oh, this was from 1954. The world wasn't ready for interspecies relationships yet. I don't think so. I really kept thinking it was gonna happen though. And I was like, no, Monica. Guillermo did that.
thought there would be a little bit more of that as well, but Guillermo del Toro did that because he watched this movie and was like, when are they gonna fall in love?
Exactly.
And then he's
No,
like, I
he
guess
saw
I gotta
what we
do
all
it
saw.
myself.
I don't know if I read something or heard something where people were just like speculating, but apparently the monster was supposed to have like a 4-foot dick.
That is made up. That's not true.
Who's to say?
Okay, wait, tell me more though. I'm listening.
I need to know more.
Well, they were then concerned that it would lean into bestiality.
If his 4-foot dick was dragging along the floor behind him, yeah, I think it would be a little distracting.
Okay, I'm literally reading this article right now because I read so slow. That's called like it's Monsters of Makeup, and it's like making up of the creature from the Black Lagoon. And so I like just control F dick penis just to see if it said anything about a 4-foot dick, and it did not say anything about
Wow,
that.
the history books forgot about it.
This
Four,
is the,
4 feet.
yeah, it was gigantic.
Are those your words, or did they say 4 foot?
They said it, not me.
Who is they?
I
Who
don't
is they?
remember. It's been a day. I'm trying to not kill myself. Okay, like
Oh my
I
god.
don't know what I would do if watching this movie he had a 4-foot dick, presumably hanging from no higher than 3 feet off the ground. So at least a foot of it is dragging.
I am taken aback. That's just I already thought he was hot. This would be too much.
That would not
here's
be
the whole
hot.
question. Do you wish Gilman had a 4-foot dick in this movie? Yes or
I
no?
would love to see anybody have a 4-foot dick just to see how that impedes their daily life, because that would be very difficult. Be
I've
longer
seen
than your
that,
legs.
actually.
Although
I
one
saw
of
a
the guys
video.
who played the Gilman was 6'5", but you'd have to be 8 feet tall to have a 4-foot dick hanging from your waist level, roughly speaking, and not have
Hit
it
the
be dragging
floor.
on the ground. And even
I
then, it
think
would reach to the ground. You'd have to pick it up when there were pebbles around.
Well, he's an aquatic animal, okay? And so it just
he's
would float
link
gracefully
between
through
land
the
and
waves.
water.
A grower,
Monica.
not a shower. Okay.
Yeah, also it could be used as like a swimming implement, like a rudder to help him make
A propeller, one could
Wait.
say.
in the sea.
Wait. Sydney, you're saying it's not 4 feet all the time, only when he's erect.
Sydney's saying from this unknowable source that he had a 4-foot dick, but it
Making
was a
stuff
grower,
up.
not a shower. So it
No,
was 2
the grower,
feet.
not a shower is my
It was 2
addition
feet,
to
and
that.
then it grew into 4 feet.
It was
Oh
a
my
very reasonable 6 to 7 inches when it was hanging there, and then he got
Just
erect and it expanded to 4 feet long.
Yeah,
48 inches.
because he's part fish, right?
It's extendable, so it just
But they don't like have penetrative
out-
sex. They just splurt it in the water. So there you go. Maybe it needs that reach to get good coverage.
But
to
he is
get deep into the
humanoid.
caves and the grottos.
Yeah.
I think this is what it is. Hear me out. This is going to be disgusting. Not that disgusting. If you're an amphibian, he's not an amphibian. If you're an ocean dwelling animal, like look at any ocean dwelling animal that you've seen, and they don't have a dick that sticks out that I've seen. I've seen Shamu's dick though.
4
But
feet.
you don't see it all the time. It was as big as a Volkswagen Beetle. It was so
Bigger
long.
than 4
They were-
feet.
The dick?
the dick, not like as wide, but as long as a Volkswagen Beetle. It was huge. I'm not kidding. It was Shamu's dick. I saw Shamu's dick. Shamu's a woman. It was a killer whale's dick. Shamu is a woman.
I didn't know.
Shamu's dead. Shamu was a woman. Anyway, but it was a dick. They're
human
taking
woman.
a sperm sample behind the scenes because yes, we've talked about this. I went to SeaWorld camp. We'll get into Blackfish during this episode. Please just let me live my life. I didn't know I was 12. But anyway, I did.
Cancel her.
Aren't you glad I went to SeaWorld? I can tell you about Shamu's dick. I'm very defensive about this. But anyway, like Shamu, when Shamu's going around the town, you don't see his big dick flopping around because it would affect his hydrodynamicness. That's not the word.
He's got, like, a little
Aerodynamic.
pouch.
Hydrodynamic. So it goes inside their body and then it comes out when it's the right time. So I think that's what it is. I think
So he could have a 4-foot dick.
inside of Gilman's body, there's a 4-foot dick, which would take up most of his internal organ space. But again, it's a grower, not a shower. So there we go. We solved it.
You've
He's
convinced
right.
me.
He's right.
I'm convinced.
Add it to IMDb trivia. Make it part of the official record.
Yeah, I'm gonna add that in there. It'll be like they wanted to give him a 4-foot dick, but they realized it wouldn't be realistic because it would affect his hydrodynamicism in the water and his speed and agility. Doesn't it sound real when I say it in that voice?
It does.
Yeah,
It
and
sounds very
also, like,
authoritative.
as someone who read the IMDb trivia for this movie, there were at least 2 things on there where I'm like, did someone just do a lie? So I think we could get away with it, because there was one on there that referred to Bud Westmore as the assistant to Millicent Patrick, the original designer of the Gilman costume. But actually he was like one of the heads of some department at Universal. He was her boss. He was not her assistant. So I don't know why somebody wrote that.
Well, it's funny that you brought that up because that's like a big point of contention with
Mhm.
this movie. Because I mean, we're talking about the dick. That's very important, and that's something that Millicent had to make these decisions on. But she was never getting any of the credit until much more recently, because Bud Westmore was given all of the credit for the design of the monster.
She was given some credit originally because she was going on a tour that was like the beauty that created the beast, and then he got mad and changed the name of the tour halfway through. That was like the beauty that lived with the beast.
Like she fucking did that thing.
She is
did
that
it.
bitch.
And that's
She
the reason
invented the
why
4-foot dick.
she invented the 4-foot dick. Also,
Queen.
she's just like a very, very incredible woman with a really, really interesting life. She also did like the animation. She did animation at Disney. And she was one of the very first female animators there. And she worked on Fantasia, which is like my fucking shit. That's my childhood, Fantasia and Fantasia 2000. And she worked on the last segment of Fantasia and created one of Disney's, or helped create one of Disney's darkest villains, Chernabog. If you know about Chernabog, then you know.
I don't.
The part of it was like demonic imagery, skeletal ghost, fire creatures that morph into goats and lizards. Yeah, she did that. She's an animator and she's got spooky through and through. We love her. Also, she grew up in Hearst Castle because her dad was, yeah, I know, it's fucking crazy. Her dad was like one of the he was the chief engineer in creating Hearst Castle.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and she was really hot. Also she married
was hot,
the guy who played the Lone Ranger later on in life.
What a life.
Play.
Her
Yeah.
connections.
She's fucking incredible. And I was just also reading this article about what the fucking monster looked like before she got super involved, and it looked like fucking shit. So thank God. Thank God she got involved, because like it is like a really incredible, stunning work of like makeup. Cause like the Gilman is like I said, he's hot. He's weirdly hot. He's so graceful in the water. Like I wasn't expecting this movie to look as good as it did, and it looked great. I really enjoyed it. I haven't really watched a lot of these older films, but it started me on a whole kick of watching them now.
I haven't seen any of the like Universal monster movies. Like I know
The original ones, yeah.
like I know what they all are, but I haven't like seen any of the movies. And I love that we started from the very end, because the creature from the Black Lagoon is like the last, because all of the other OG ones are like from the 30s. And then he's kind of like the last one. So we're going to work our way backwards with the OG.
Era.
Yeah, seriously. It like brought it like back though, you know? But I was also reading this thing that all the rest of them pretty much, except for I guess the Mummy, like all interrelate. Like they do like, what was it? Who versus the Wolf?
The Dark
Dracula?
Universe.
Yeah, the Dark Universe. It's all part of the Dark Universe. What is it? A League of Extraordinary Men kind of shit. That was a movie where they brought them all together in like the 80s. And it was good. Anyway, I don't know. I watched it as a child. But they were like, oh, the creature stood alone. He did his shit by himself. Can you imagine if they had done the Gilman versus Dracula or some fucking shit? Like it would have been ridiculous. but he didn't need that. He stood on his own. And also, I had no idea this is a trilogy of movies.
Yeah.
I know what happens now. But yeah, I really need to see all of them, especially apparently the third one's really, really good.
Okay.
It gets
Anyway, with
psychological.
With checking out.
Oh yeah. Because the whole thing, like getting into this movie, William Allen came up with the idea when he was at dinner with Orson Welles, as you are. I'm
As
always
one
at dinner
does,
with-
because they were
Yeah,
besties.
uh-huh. And some guy like told him this story about like the Gill Man, because this is like based on an actual legend about a humanoid sea amphibian man, I think in the Amazon as well. And he was like, damn, that's super crazy. And he thought about it for years. And then he finally turned it into a movie. But at first, he literally just said, King Kong? Copy paste.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is very much like this same DNA. But for the record, that the man who told them the story was famed Mexican cinematographer Gabriel Figueroa. And it
Oh,
was lore about, or like a legend from South America about a creature who would like come out of the water and steal
Oh,
a
it was
woman
from South
away
America.
every few years. Well, the Amazon
Yeah.
is in South America, so I don't know
Oh,
if it was
yeah.
any more specific than that, but
Yeah. I don't know. That, yeah, it's that I love like stuff based off of folklore too. We know this about me. So I really like that part too. I feel like it could be real. I believe it. Shit goes crazy in the Amazon. Anything could
they said
happen.
they said in the movie everything there is a killer.
Uh-huh. Even the fish. And the fish are
Mhm.
hot. Look at that.
Fish have 4-foot dicks. They're very sexy.
4-foot dick is not sexy to me. That is
4-foot dick is very
terrifying.
scary, but
That's haunting to me.
I was just watching an episode of
I'd
it's
like to
not
see
Naked
it
and
though.
Afraid. What's the one where everyone is naked and you judge everyone's
Naked
genitalia?
Attraction, isn't that what
Naked
it's called?
Yes,
Attraction.
I love that on HBO.
Yeah, and this girl was like, "Your dick is too big and beautiful, so I'm kicking you out because it's too
And
much
for
for
that
me."
reason, I'm out. She said it like they do on Shark Tank.
Exactly, and that would have that's what would have happened with the Gill Man. That's another reason why they made it an internal 4-foot dick,
Oh,
because they
let's
knew
hide
he
the
wouldn't.
4-foot dick. People are gonna be intimidated.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no way Julie Adams will fall in love with him if she knows up front how big his dick is. She'll be scared.
I need everyone who's listening though to really look at the references this time around and look at this article from Monsters of Makeup, because you need to see what the Gill Man looked like before they figured it out.
Oh no.
He was dismissively referred to as the pollywog, and it's literally so bad. Oh my god, they refer to him as a demon anchovy straight from the hellish depths.
Okay,
of
but
a
Demon
twisted
Anchovy
episode
is a
of
great name.
SpongeBob. That's a quote from this
The
article.
nematodes.
So good. He does look like a nematode, but they didn't make him like quite as ribbed for your pleasure as he ended up being. He was kind of like
Yeah, he's got
streamlined.
abs.
Yeah, he's got abs. Who has abs? I think he kind of has scaly abs in the final. I don't know.
I mean,
But he was
swimming
more like,
is a great workout. So
oh, it really is. It really is. He was. This is from a former swimmer, but then my school didn't have a pool, so I had to quit. Anyway, I'm bitter about it, as you can
You
tell.
know, I did watch this movie with my dad, and he was a swimmer for a really long time, and he was like, the swimming is beautiful in this.
The swimming was really beautiful in this. But yeah, they literally, it was just like kind of like a morph suit to visualize, with like the worst mask you've ever seen. And it wasn't hot. And he didn't have the gills. And he didn't have any of the other little things. But apparently once Millicent got a little bit more involved, she was inspired by, the classic sea monk. You know about the sea monk? Do you know about him?
Yeah, the sea monk.
You know about the sea monk?
oh,
I
yes.
don't know about the sea monk, but I'm looking at this picture. It is a picture of a monk-like man, but he's also a fish. And
Oh,
he looks
of course.
he looks fucking terrifying. He's absolutely terrifying. It was a mixture of the sea monk, the bishop fish. So similar kind of thing. You know, a bishop. Well, he's also a fish. Now, we will post these pictures somewhere for you to see them.
We'll post a carousel of these photos.
And then also apparently, because she worked at Disney, they think that was a little bit inspired by Cleo, that really sexy fish.
That is a very sexy fish.
From Pinocchio. I think maybe that's where the red lips came from, because apparently, even though this movie's in black and white, all the paintings.
This movie was in black and white 3D when it came out.
Can we? Oh my God. Can we talk about that? Because last night, after I watched this movie, I said I got on this kick of older movies, and I was like, I want to revisit Our Boyfriend, Vincent Price. So I watched House of Wax, the OG one, and I was like, this is so weird. They're doing all these things that make me think they thought this was a 3D movie. Like Vincent Price throws something and it literally hits the camera. There's a guy who has, like, you know that thing where it's like a paddle and a stretchy cord and a bouncy ball and you bounce it? He was like bouncing it at the camera, like in your face, like a bunch of times. And I was like, that's so weird. But 3D didn't exist back then. It
Wrong.
No, remember when we did House on Haunted Hill?
And
yeah,
it was 3D.
Well, I forgot. I totally forgot. It was fucking created in like 18 something. Like 3D's been around for a long, which makes sense. It's not like so crazy. It's like the red lens and the blue lens.
Well,
or whatever.
They had that, and I saw something on IMDb trivia that said they did do that at some point when they were trying to do like a TV release or whatever, but it didn't work very well. This was a different kind of 3D technology. That was something about, it said the 3D glasses at the time were almost more similar to the 3D glasses that we have now for the movie theaters.
Oh,
and
really?
It was something about like the gray scale. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, so
well,
I
yeah, because that wouldn't make sense because they didn't have color. It was a black and white movie, so it couldn't be blue and red. Stupid Monica. Continue.
But no, I did so much of what I was trying to research about this film was more like the history of like film history stuff.
Yeah.
Of like what are B movies exactly? For one. For B-cember, I wanted to be knowledgeable. I wanted to speak knowledgeably on the subject. And guess what? I don't really feel like I fully understand. But I did talk about it a little. Because like I said, I watched this movie with my dad. My mom was also there, but she was in the background playing YouTube videos on her phone loudly. So she was only moderately tuned in. But no, I'm lying. She only did that one time. It wasn't the whole time. And I went, oh, I guess you're done with the film. And she was like, kind of. But I was watching it and we were talking about B movies. My dad was like, what is a B movie? Lucille Ball was the queen of B movies, right? And I was like, no, B movies are horror movies. That's not true. It's not horror specific. It just has come to sort of be a conversation piece in horror, as like it seems that way to me, is that it is more prevalent in horror these days, where you're just not getting as many low budget movies in other genres because nobody wants to make low budget movies the same way anymore because they just don't want to invest in anything that they don't think is going to be like a big tentpole studio film. And I saw a Reddit thread that was like, how do we define a B movie? And apparently you can't be a B movie if you're an art house. It has to be basically like when a studio is doing a low budget movie as opposed to a regular budget movie. Part of it was also when they were like the secondary supporting film in a double feature release.
Yeah.
That was, I think, really where the B movie as a term came from, but I couldn't find anything about this movie being released as part of a double feature.
Do you want to know what it was?
Ooh, tell.
I can't think of the name, so you'll have to, but it was the Marilyn Monroe movie with the iconic white dress.
No, that's wrong. It was featured in the shot of her with her skirt being blown up.
Oh, in the background?
It was the movie in the background. Yeah, that's what you're thinking.
Then I was reading it wrong. Oh, well.
I mean, that's a beautiful fun fact and I love it. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't find anything about it being released with something else, I did see lots of things about double features with this movie, and it seems like it is in modern day at least shown a lot with Phantom of the Opera, which makes so much
I want to
sense.
see that so bad.
And also the old Phantom of the Opera, though,
Yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
40s
yeah, yeah,
one.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And it's shown with Jaws a lot, which also makes so much sense because this film was
Oh,
like hugely influential for Jaws.
oh, totally. This like wrote Jaws for it. I was listening to some of the music from it, and I was like, they definitely like, oh, what if I made this more dramatic? And
Yeah,
that
well, I
sort
mean,
of
that was
ba-da,
yeah, I mean, watching with my parents was not the ideal atmosphere for this film, but we did have some interesting conversations about it. And one of it was about like the music. That was something my dad and I talked about a lot. Was he was like, I guess the music is really important for this movie. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, that is a lot of horror in general because
Yeah.
and especially for a movie like this where they're not necessarily going to be able to show you that much, or there's only so much they can do on camera. It's about creating like the atmosphere that makes you feel afraid, the atmosphere that like makes you think something might be about to happen
Totally.
even if nothing does. So it's that like anticipation that they really build through the music primarily to tell you like the emotion that you should be feeling in that
Yeah, they
moment.
couldn't
And like
do as much visually. You're so right.
and they had three different guys who made the music for this movie. They had one guy who did the like score for the opening and the closing, and they had one guy who did the underwater score, and they had one guy who did all the other stuff, and then there was like one theme music for the Gillman specifically that plays like every single time he's on the screen. And they just, I don't know, it's like thinking of it, I really thought about Jaws and Psycho. Like those are some of the most famous scores, specifically
Yeah.
because the music is doing so much of the heavy lifting of
Yeah.
creating that like anticipation. And this movie is very very clear that that's where a lot of the work is going.
No, totally.
This also reminds me a lot of like Halloween because the music also, but Gilman, just like Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, kind of, like won't die.
And
Like,
he can't express a lot. He's
right?
not,
Like
Yeah.
he just kind of like creepishly walks around, doesn't say anything,
Slow moving. Well,
So
except when he's in the
he's the
water.
blueprint.
No, totally. It really, this movie is super fucking influential. I mean, there's that we were talking about the Jaws thing too. Not only the music for Jaws, but like the whole scene with oh, what's her name? Who knows? Kay. Kay. Haha. I remember that because I know a lady named Kay, and I was like, oh, those are the only two ladies I know named Kay. The lady from this movie and the lady I know in real
in
life.
the movie, just like the K that I know. Their names are the same.
Very, this really helped humanize the character for me. Anyway.
Well, sure, because nobody in this movie has a lot of characterization, so I think you need to bring some of it yourself.
Exactly. But Kay, her doing her little swim in her white bathing suit in the water, and the Gilman is sensually, in my opinion, swimming below her. That's very like reminiscent of the Jaws scene at the beginning when the girl's swimming and the shark is below and blah blah blah, and the poster, which is that woman in the white bathing suit, bathing beauty.
Like I said. So sorry.
No.
Like I said, the IMDb trivia, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Because there's at least one other like really seemingly big lie that I couldn't verify anywhere else in there. But there's a thing on there that says that there are like very similar camera angles and edits on purpose seemingly to reference that specifically in the beginning of Jaws. Like the shots are almost the same.
Oh man. Well, just to really quickly go back to the 3D aspect of it. Well, I read also because again, this isn't like House of Wax that I was just talking about, where it's so obvious that it's a 3D movie. Like it's not like the Gillman's like coming out to get you or whatever, or like a fish flops into the camera or whatever. It's not that gimmicky. But they said that the 3D was really, really stunningly effective with all the shots underwater and specifically like of the fish, of the sharks, when they have all those gorgeous shots at the beginning at the like Sea Institute or whatever the fuck, I don't know, where they're all
The
hanging out.
Instituta Biologica Maritima.
Yes. Precisely. But yeah, so that, and then I'm sure, of course, all of the swimming scenes with beautiful Kay, who I need to look this up. Did Kay do some of those fucking water ballet movies that were really popular back in the day? Because she's a very graceful swimmer. She's got water ballerina written all over her.
I think somebody else did her underwater stunts.
Yeah, IMDb
damn.
trivia said she did all of her own stunts, and then it said this other lady did her swimming things, and I was like, okay, that
Those are
doesn't
the
count as a
stunts.
stunt. What
That's-
stunts did she do?
Yeah,
Being scooped up, and being carried around. Those were her
that's about
stunts.
it.
And slay for
Well-
her for doing them herself, but
Well, then it was definitely a water ballerina, because that I felt like was very reminiscent of those movies, which I've never seen any of those. I've just seen Hail Caesar where they reference them. And it seems awesome. But yeah, apparently the 3D effect with the underwater scenes made that super dynamic. So I'd love to be able to see it that way. It sounds gorgeous. I'm a big underwater girly, so this really speaks to me.
Ginger Stanley, allegedly per IMDb trivia, was the woman who performed the underwater scenes.
That is such a 1950s name. Are you
Ginger
kidding
Stanley?
me?
Yeah. But yeah, when
Ginger,
she
what a
had like
great
her
name.
one leg at like the angle
Yes.
to the other leg, and she did that graceful
And her
slow
toes were
motion
pointed.
flip. Wow.
Her toes were pointed the whole time. I was like, that's a nice point. She knows
I
what
know
she's
what
doing.
I'm going to be practicing in the water this coming summer.
But also
Oh,
Julie
yeah.
Adams did do a lot of swimming herself, so I don't know who's doing what. And like, okay, I keep referencing it, but I haven't said it yet. The big lie, I think it's a lie. I don't know, maybe it's a hidden truth. On IMDb trivia is, okay, in this film there were two different men who played the creature. There was one man who played the creature on land, and then there was another man, Rico Browning, who played the creature underwater, and he was just like a lifeguard in Florida that they like found and hired to do some test scenes at first, just like so they could set up camera shots and like figure out, is this a good location, blah blah blah, whatever. And then they hired him because his swimming was so good. But then IMDb trivia has this one entry that says, per your own website, quote, during the filming of Creature from the Black Lagoon, the creature was supposed to be played by Rico Browning. Browning experienced problems adjusting to the suit underwater, so a stuntman with underwater scuba experience, Chuck Wilcox, was hastily hired to finish filming. Part of the deal was that Wilcox could not take credit for the film. But also, Rico Browning played the creature in the next two movies, and that's like what launched his career in Hollywood. So I don't know why this person wrote that or where that came from, or when they say per your own website, what website they're referencing. So like anything from IMDb trivia, the Ginger Stanley did the underwater stuff versus Julie Adams was in the pool all day, and one of her hardest days on set was they forgot to heat the pool when they were doing the filming, and it was a cold day and she had to be in the water for hours. Like who knows what the truth is?
I'd be so mad if I had to be in the water and it was always heated and then it's not heated.
And even the thought of this it's gonna push her right over.
Well, I can't speak to if Rico Browning was actually the person in the suit and blah 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 blah, but in that
Who
article
knows?
that I'm talking about, it shows both of them without the mask on. Both Rico Browning, who's the underwater guy, apparently, or not.
Or
and then-
not.
And Ben Chapman was the out of water guy. And I
One
just
of
wanna
them
let
is
you
very
both
sexy.
know they're both sexy. That's my point. They're both sexy underneath. So I was right thinking they're hot, thinking the Gillman's hot. He is.
One's wearing like a swimming cap, so looks bald. So I do not acknowledge what he looks like at this point. But the other one is very sexy.
He looks good even with the swimming cap. I'll say that for him.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. He's just wearing a cap. He's just a man in a cap. It's
I
just
know.
the
The other
hair
guy
under there.
has
You can
tousled
see
hair,
it picking
though.
out.
Yeah, the other
So-
guy has very sexy tousled hair. Makes
Yeah,
me
the
want to
other
run my
guy-
fingers through it, you know?
Looking
no,
at
it
him,
is
not
very
to
finger
get into my
understandable.
Bachelorverse world, but looking at him, I understand why everybody said that Tyler Cameron looked so old Hollywood.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Can we talk about why, speaking of sexy people, why
Speaking-
everybody looks really sexy in black and white, like us right now, because we're
I
filming this
know.
in black and white?
Us right now, for sure. You did text that when you were watching the movie last night, and I hadn't had that thought to myself that anybody looked sexy. But Kay wore 1,400 magnificent outfits, so
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm dressed as Kay today. It's a little bit of a subtle thing. But
the hair's
I
good
was
though.
so
Yeah, the hair
thank you
is
so
very
much.
good.
Thank you. I tried. I could have done the whole thing that she does because I have the rollers to do it, and then I went to do it and I was like, I'm not gonna do
Why?
that.
Yeah,
That takes a long time.
That
And I don't
sounds
want to
tiring.
wash my hair and get it wet. That sounds terrible. Anyway, so this is my half-ass version. But yeah, I was thinking throughout, I was like, obviously we're in a movie and everything is farce and blah 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 blah. But how would her shirts be so pressed on the fucking Amazonian river? Like all of her outfits were so
crisp.
coiffed. Where is she showering? Is there a shower on there? Like her hair was perfect.
Why
the
is she
entire
sometimes business
time.
casual and sometimes she's wearing a bandana print halter top?
It's
Yeah.
perfect.
I did like her little hat though. I almost wore a little hat to match her. I loved her little hat. Oh,
One of the things that I will just never get over in this whole like 50s time period is the pointy boobs.
that was just what the bras were like.
I know, but like the fact
But
that we
like,
were
why
like,
were the bras that way?
Oh, I don't know. Okay, so after I watched this last night, I put on my I have like 2 retro bathing suits that are like actually vintage. And they have that. One of them more than the other because it's damaged and so the boob is just like really fucking pointy,
Conical.
like weirdly point. Like you can tell there's something wrong. But the other one, it just makes them look real nice because you can't really tell what's real, what's not real. It's literally like cardstock in there. Like it's
the
like
ultimate
hard.
defense against the nipple bra, I guess. They really said, not only do we not want your nipples to show through your bra, we're gonna make them come to a little point just to disguise any possible pointy nipple that might try and make an appearance underneath there.
Exactly.
But in doing
No.
so, they're really making me think about what's underneath there, you know.
I know. But the bathing suits were very flattering, and Kay is a gorgeous angel. And I don't think her boyfriend is quite as hot. I don't remember the men's name. I only remember Kay. David. But the one that's bad boy,
Mark.
Mark. He's very handsome. Also, he's wearing a loincloth in his IMDb headshot. Just saying. I just wanted to let you know about that. He didn't wear a loincloth in this movie, unfortunately. He was too busy not caring about animals' rights. PETA's worst nightmare.
oh no.
That's true. He's in there trying to slay every animal that he comes across, and when I say slay that time, I mean it literally.
Slay derogatory.
Derogatory.
The king of slay derogatory.
But okay, there's not a lot of plot to this movie. Talk about a little bit of it. There's really not. But I do love, like, I don't know. I'm like really gonna be watching a bunch of these older movies now because I'm into the pacing at this point. I wasn't before. I was too millennial. I was too 2023. But now I'm ready. I'm open my mind. But like there's so many fun things that are like the hand coming out of the water for the first time. They're looking at the fossilized hand, and then meanwhile, the real live hand comes out of the water, and it's like, and the music's like fucking crazy, and it's just a hand coming. I love it. It is
I like that they
scary.
started with the Big Bang too. They really said, "Let me show
Oh,
you the
yeah.
stakes the creation of the universe is extremely relevant here. So
No,
we're going all the
totally.
way back to the
Evolution.
beginning. And
I
we're
like that
filming the way they did real explosions was very fun and cool.
Yeah, that was really cool opening. That was a very artistic opening. I also liked like once it is more in reality, like when or not during that opening sequence when it's like they're talking about they're doing research on the lungfish, which is the fish they show that has the like, you know, little fins, but they're like weird arms kind of, and
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
swim around. And
It
so
almost
I
looks
just
like a salamander, a
totally
pre-salamander.
I'm super fascinated by like those creatures that are like innie outies. They're in the water, they're out of the water. They can do los dos. I love that so much. So I love that they actually showed the fish. I loved all of the videos, all the parts where they just showed the sharks going around and the ray going around. I was like, can we have just black and white aquarium for Monica? That sounds really nice.
Nice little
Um,
screensaver movie for Monica.
Yeah, no, I was very into it. But yeah, I also just I feel bad for those guys who died at the beginning, but I just was laughing so hard because they wouldn't show any of the violence at first, and the only thing they showed for like 3 of the kills was him just like fucking the gill man just palming them in the face.
Yeah, he just
palming them and it's over.
Mhm.
Imagine that power, that raw fish power. Oof.
Well, he's 6'5" on land, so
Damn.
I know.
he's got
That's
that
all it
reach
takes.
to just.
You just give up. You're like, what am I supposed to do with that? I'm just gonna fucking die. And then he rips him up just for fun. Good
I
for
think
him.
that one guy did shout for his friend, right? Because like in the
Yeah.
beginning, after they find the fossil, they're like, we have to always have someone at camp to keep an eye on things because they're gonna maybe try and dig out the rest of that skeleton. After he just like chopped the hand off, basically, he was like, that's fine. I don't care about the integrity of this fossil at all. But I
Also,
guess
like, it would never look
sure.
like that.
No.
Just
It would never
coming
fucking
out,
look
yeah.
like that. But also hilarious. I mean, maybe it did look like that because it wasn't ancient, and that was Gilman's one
That
friend
was my friend
who
from
died
yesterday.
like 3 days ago. And they stuck his arm in the wall. I don't know. It doesn't have to
Yeah,
make sense. It's not about that.
there were so many parts of this movie where I went, maybe this made sense in the 50s. I don't know that I have the information necessary
About the
here.
vibes.
Yeah, where they were just like, oh, the limestone on the rock matches the limestone deposits from the bottom of the lagoon. I was just like, okay. And they were like, we're going to kill him like you kill a mosquito. And I was like, how did they kill mosquitoes in the 50s? Like, what is that mean? Did they have
Mosquitoes
spray guns
killed
for
them.
mosquitoes in the 50s?
You squirt them, apparently. That was the squirt thing,
I
right?
guess. Yeah.
You squirted them with a squirt gun, of course.
But I was just, Monica said it. It's all about the vibes. I was just rolling along. I did love when they lit the Gill Man on fire. I thought that was absolutely rad.
That was so
It looked
sick.
really cool too.
It looked
Did
really cool. I was getting kind of bored. Sorry to the movie.
No, it's okay. Slow
Yeah,
pace.
I think there is a circumstance in which I am flavor blasted and maybe can watch this movie in 3D and I'm just like sitting on a big screen watching, experiencing the vibes, and I think that could be very slay. But I was, for a movie that is 79 minutes long, I was like, this sure is the slowest 79 minutes I've ever experienced.
No, I agree. I was like pausing it a lot, but I was laying on my deathbed yesterday because if you can't tell, spookies, I'm sick. Sorry, I sound like this and I keep coughing. But it's a great thing to watch on your deathbed because you're kind of spaced out. You're on a bunch of Sudafed, and it kind of makes it feel a little faster paced because you're kind of on speed. So that is a great way to watch it. I would recommend that for you, Chelsea. Try
Sure.
speed. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, next time. But yeah, as soon as they lit the creature on fire, I was like, okay, this rules. That rules.
That ruled. And also, okay, did it light that guy on fire too? Because his whole face was wrapped up like a mummy. And I was like, did he get lit on fire as well? I missed that.
lit on fire, maybe like scratches on his face.
I guess. Okay.
But apparently he survived.
Okay, good.
Oh, great.
There are so many people that like were in this, and I was like, "Why are you in this?" I was reading one article, and it name dropped one of them. I don't know which one.
Z?
The names don't mean anything to me, but they're like, "Oh, and
Chico?
then this guy was in it just because he was in everything at that time." So they're just like,
Yeah.
"Everybody loves this guy. We're gonna have him here, and he's gonna be like, whoa." And that's his line, and then he gets scratched, and that's it.
Well, this was also back in the day when you would just have like a contract with the studio. You would just be like one of the Universal
Yeah.
players or whatever. And so they could just be like, do this movie. And you would kind of to some degree just have to be like, okay. And you would like you'd be contracted
do.
for 7 films with Universal or whatever it was. And Julia Adams was one of the like main I don't know. She was like a Universal player at the time, and she didn't really want to be in this movie because it wasn't her typical kind of movie. But then she was like, well, I have a contract with the studio, they want me to do
I
it,
have
I guess
to.
it's kind of no big deal. And then it was like one of her most famous memorable roles after that. So I
Yeah,
think
thank
this
God.
movie really did take off in a way that they didn't necessarily anticipate when they were making it. Like we said, it is
Oh, yeah.
a B movie, so clearly it was not ever planned to be like a big major feature in its own right. But they really did just kind of like throw a lot of stuff in there.
Oh,
But
yeah. I mean, it was a huge
the
fucking
legacy,
hit.
yeah.
It was a huge hit. They made it for $500,000, and it grossed $3 million. And this is in the 50s numbers. I don't know. This is from Den
Every
of
time I
Geeks.
saw numbers, I was like, "Is this up to date numbers, or is this?"
I know.
They're like,
I
"This
can't.
suit
I couldn't
cost
tell you.
$15,000," and I was like, "Today, $15,000, or then $15,000? Because that's
Oh
very
no! Look.
different."
Well, look. This says by the end of 1954, Creature from the Black Lagoon had already grossed $3 million. So
That's then dollars, yeah.
that's them dollars. And so, yeah, that's why they went on to make Revenge of the Creature. And then, like, what is the last one called? I don't know what the last one's called. It had such a funny name. Damn it, I can't find it now. It was so funny.
$3 million in 1954 is $33 million today, just for the record.
That's a lot of money still. And that's just by the end of 54. I mean, gosh. So it turned into this whole thing. Oh, yeah, we were mentioning earlier that they're gonna make this movie like literally copy paste King Kong. But then they're like, you know what? Let's leave the part where they bring him to America for a potential sequel. And so
For
that's
a
what
later
Revenge of the
movie.
Exactly. They set themselves up for success here. But that's what Revenge of the Creature is about. They literally steal him in the first 10 minutes and then bring him to Florida's Marine Land. And this is why SeaWorld comes into play. And so they put him in a little SeaWorld like thing, and he's sad and it's terrible. And then he like goes on a rampage, whatever. And then
Sure.
that's the end of the movie.
I
But
found the title of the
apparently,
third one, if you want it,
oh,
though.
yeah, what is it?
It's called The Creature Walks Among Us.
Yes. Isn't that sick? That's
Ooh.
dramatic. Yeah.
It's a good title.
And also, I'm getting ahead of myself. Hold on. Holding my own thought. But the Marine Land one, Revenge of the Creature, apparently, like, I was reading this Den of Geeks article, and they're like, honestly, it was a little more blackfish than I was expecting. Like, it was revealing like the harsh conditions of SeaWorld type places in 1955 or whatever when it came out. So woke.
And they buried those secrets for another 50 years.
Exactly. But yeah, apparently too, though, from this article that I'm reading, the creature like changed in look dramatically over the 3 films. I don't know.
I know
what
they
I'm
saved
looking
the
at.
head and the hands part of the costume. And so I think that was consistent over the 3 films, but I'm sure it's possible that like the body was changing and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the eyes changed for Revenge. Like, you know how the eyes were like weirdly
Mm.
look like they're lights in this one? They looked I liked them still, but they looked
Yeah.
those were the one part that wasn't as good for me. And And then in the second one, his eyes are even worse. They're significantly worse. They're referred to here as ping pong eyes.
Don't
What?
they like
And I
bulge
would
out of his head like a fish?
Yeah, they're very round. They come out and they look bad. They don't look as good. And then in this last one, he looks more like a man than a fish.
Oh.
He's
No
been out
wonder
of
he walks
water a
among
little
us.
too long.
Ew, yeah. He doesn't have the ridges. He's sleeker. I don't like the way
He's
that
not
he looks.
ribbed for her pleasure.
He's not ripped for her pleasure anymore. It's very upsetting. It's more looking like the polywog we were discussing earlier. This is a watch along episode, people. You need to read this article to understand what I'm talking about. Look at that. Look how weird he looks. I just
Yeah.
sent it to you guys.
Also,
I
the
don't
poster
like
for The
it.
Creature Walks Among Us, one of them at least says, half monster, half man, all terror. So I guess they really leaned into the half man part of it, maybe at
Or
that point.
or is the third one about like his son?
They did consummate their love affair, and now, yeah. Oh, is
I
that
don't
what
think
you wanted? Guess what? Buy the third
Yeah.
one.
They did fuck, and this is his son. That would be really, really funny.
He looks swole as hell in this one picture.
He's a beefcake in Creature Walks Among Us. So I
He
don't
works
know.
out.
Truly. Oh yeah, wow, he's beefy as heck. But okay, another thing that's not about this movie, but about the movie in general and its lore. It apparently in 82, John Landis was trying to get Universal to let him make a huge, big budget remake of Creature from the Black Lagoon. And we know that there are so many very successful 80s remakes of these 50s movies. The Blob, we haven't done the 80s one, but it slaps hardcore. It's fucking awesome. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, excuse me. That would be an interesting movie. That one was in the 70s, but that was a fucking awesome remake. So this was another one that could have fucking slapped. They literally had our guy, Rick Baker, signed up to do the makeup. There's not a better guy you can get to do it. But instead, they didn't do it. And instead, they put all their money into Jaws 3D. And if you know what Jaws 3D is about, it's literally like a copy paste of The Creature's Revenge or whatever. It's literally like they take Jaws and they put them in SeaWorld. Isn't that so weird? It's really annoying. Pisses me off. Anyway, though, I do really want to see Jaws 3D. Just as a side note, I heard it's fucking whack as hell. But we could have had a sick, nasty remake. But honestly, like they were saying what Rick's plans were for doing the makeup for the remake. And it was, I mean, you can't really improve on this original. It's so good. And the fact that it could swim, like the fact that it actually was like could exist underwater and not fall apart and look so good. And like whoever it was down there swimming in that suit, he did look amazing. Like so graceful, so beautiful. This is why I was so attracted to him. I'm into swimmers.
His ability to hold his breath for like such a long time underwater.
Up to 4 minutes, allegedly. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the Wikipedia page, the section on canceled remakes is literally so long. There were 1 zillion attempts to remake this movie that never really got off the ground, whether it was because people moved on to different projects or what the deal was. Somebody chose to work on King Kong instead, so like there's another King Kong connection for you. And John Carpenter wanted to do one at one point.
Wow.
And Guillermo del Toro, that's what we're saying. He wanted to do one at one point, but then his idea kind of became Shape of Water instead.
Shape of Water. I'm glad it changed into that.
Yeah, that's a movie that deserves to. Well, actually, I've never seen it, but I know that it was up for Oscars, so it's got to be good, right? But yeah, there was a lot. There was another one that was going to be made in like 2007, 2008 that got delayed because of the writer's strike at that time. There's a section on here where it said there was another reboot that was in the works at like 2014 maybe. It at no point are these like getting off the ground. It's just like not happening for them, which is
Because it's
crazy
perfect. They don't
because
need to change it.
it is, well, there you go. But yeah, I mean, all the underwater shots are beautiful, and they did a lot of really cool stuff with that. And like this scene where Kay is swimming and the Gilman is swimming underneath her, and they're sort of
Yes.
like parallel to each other. Like, it is beautiful, and that scene is very like Phantom of the Opera. So like, you know, sometimes you just need to have a beautiful shot, and that can be enough. And if you do it great the first time, why do it a second time?
Yeah, I mean, part of something that I thought was really interesting, I read for the first time, um, a Roger and Ebert. Did I even say it right?
Roger and
Is that
Ebert.
it good enough for me?
Yeah, okay. I just always think that I say like Egert or something instead of Ebert, and I'm like, I never actually
That's
looked at what their
Egbert,
name is.
actually.
I'm so sorry. I'm thinking about Egbert all the time, so it's hard to figure it out. But yeah, usually their takes are not it for me, and it makes me mad because they're hoity-toity. But this one take I did like. And I'm just gonna read a little quote from it because I thought it was really interesting, and I think this kind of goes into the like slowness of the movie, so that's the tie back. It says, although it was aimed at teenage audience, it's a serious film with an adult sensibility. Its eye for beauty and belief in its ability to hold the viewer's attention make it feel more like a contemporary art house horror movie than a 1950s studio attempt to make an exploitation picture. And it's so true. It's so pastoral in a way. You know what I mean? I just watched Men yesterday, right before I watched this, which also has long swaths of time where the main character is just frolicking through a forest and it's slightly spooky, you know. I've also seen Lamb, another art house horror movie that's the slowest fucking burn in the entire world. And a lot of it is just like they're hanging out. They have lambs, and that's kind of the vibe. You know, this movie, there's so much where it's just like they're swimming in the ocean, or not the ocean, the Amazon. I'm so sorry. And it's beautiful, and they're spinning all around, and they got a little. And here's a fucking alligator or crocodile. I don't know which one lives in the Amazon. Don't come for me. It's just more like atmospheric in that way, and there's not a lot going on. But when it does happen, when things do happen, it's that guy lighting on fire, which is pretty exciting, and which is very Hereditary. Wow. You
Wow.
see all these parallels? But anyway, I thought that was an interesting take, and I was like, maybe that's why I liked it so much, because it's slow. And I do like those sometimes when my attention span allows for it.
Yeah, like I said, I think under the right circumstances, I could vibe with this film. I didn't have those circumstances at this time, but there were parts of it that were highlights for sure. It was a little silly parts of it.
Yes.
It was very 50s at parts of it where they're just like, the monster approaches Kay at the edge of the water, and she just kind of falls backwards and screams, and that's really all she does. And he just scoops her up, and then like
She has a
he gets
fawning
her.
trigger response, Chelsea.
She does. Yeah, sure. There's that part where near the end where he like grabs her and he takes her in the water, and then he goes in the cave, and she's just like unconscious, and like maybe she was underwater for so long
fainted.
that she passed out, but
Drown a little.
yeah, I mean, I was reading an article that said compared to a lot of the characters contemporaries at that time, she did pretty good in the sense that her character is one of the scientists.
Yeah.
And despite having a very slay wardrobe, she is very much treated as just like one of the other scientists and respected in that same way. And nobody's like, why is she here? Like, we got this lady, blah, blah, blah. Like, other than the standing and screaming, which is really all they give her to do for the most part, she is, at least as a character, an equal to the rest of them
Yeah.
and a peer to the rest of them
And
in
they
that
even
way.
poke
So that's
fun
cool.
at that a little bit when they're like, "Oh, taking a lady into the Amazon." She's like, "I can fend for myself," or whatever. And she's not even scared. I would be scared to swim in the Amazon.
Oh, I
Wear
would
moccasins.
never.
They
I've seen
literally just said there were
anaconda
9-foot catfish that eat you.
eat
so
people.
Yeah.
She's not scared at all. She's like, "I love to swim. I'm really good at it. Look at me point my toes."
But also we have David. Remember, they're living together, but they're not
they
married.
don't.
That's like
Do they live
progressive.
together? I thought they didn't live together,
I
and that
think
was
they
the whole
just said
thing.
they just moved into it like together. Was I mistaken?
My
I thought it was
understanding
that they
in that
weren't married.
line was that like they kept
only
being
been
like,
together.
if you get married, you could live together and two live as cheaply as one, or whatever that one line was.
Oh yeah, they've only been together 6 months, so I don't know if
Oh.
they've moved in together yet.
But also
Yeah.
there was that line where somebody mentioned marriage and he was like, "Well, I hope she gets a raise so she can afford me." And I was like, sassy man
Oh,
up
yeah.
his lips is stays undefeated.
Yep.
Well,
Seriously.
I don't
Yeah.
know. He
No.
wouldn't lock it down, and he wants to be a kept man. I mean, she's a professional woman, but
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I did appreciate that. I didn't really realize it at the time because that's what I expect. I expect equality. Do we get it? No. But I didn't really think about how that was probably fucking rare for a 50s movie. Yeah. So that's great.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is the 50s. Women couldn't have a bank account until 1974. Where did all of her hard-earned money go?
Cash.
she stored it under her mattress.
She
as
buried
any
it in the ground.
smart woman does. She put it in the pointy part of all of her bras.
That's why.
That's
they're
why
so
her bra
pointy.
are so pointy. They're full of dollars.
It's filled
Mhm.
with dollar bills. Oh well. Okay. Do we? Oh, here's one other thing I want to talk about because we're not really talking about the plot of this one. It's there's a guy, and he's a gill man, and he comes and he fights them, and then they fight back, and then they poison the water with drugs. Let's talk about that actually really
Ratinone.
quickly. Can we just talk
Rotinone.
about? That was the thing that really reminded me of from the 50s. Besides everything else about it, I was like, they just don't care about the environment at all. They're pouring poison
So
upon
much.
poison, so much poison into the water. They're like, oh yeah, how do I catch fish? I poison them, and then you eat it. Then you eat the poison. You're
They
eating
just
the
float
poison.
to the surface.
You know
He
about how
said
you're
it
eating the
as
poison
though-
after?
Well, okay, actually there was something on IMDb trivia about the poison again, who knows. But what it said was that the way that the poison works is that it basically makes the oxygen in the water like either disappear or not be accessible to the fish somehow.
Oh,
So they
okay.
swim to the surface to try and get oxygen essentially. So they're just suffocating them. They're not actually poisoning them, so the fish aren't poisoned to eat, presumably, which is
Okay,
good
that
for
makes
them.
more
But
sense.
in
But
the movie,
still,
the
it
guy
seems
introduced
sus.
it. Yeah, the guy in the movie introduced it as though it just knocks them unconscious. And then you just scoop the fish up. And I was like, okay, so they're okay afterwards. But those fish were all fully belly up in the water. And then IMDb trivia made it seem like that stuff kills fish. So suffocating them
I don't like
pretty...
that stuff. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be so real with you right now, and I'm not a big fan of that stuff. Yeah. I mean, yeah. The mean guy dies. A bunch of other guys die, but you didn't really know who they were anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
All the good
The
people
native
that I
people
wanted to
died in the
survive, though,
beginning.
survived.
Oh, well.
Like, I loved the captain of Rita.
Oh, I
Mhm,
love the captain.
boat
I loved him. He
captain.
was great. The little, like, Colonel Sanders looking doctor at the very
Dr.
beginning.
Maya.
Yeah.
Or how did they kept saying his name so weird, and but I don't remember now how they said it.
But him.
They were like Maya or something like that, maybe.
Yeah. And then David and
Mark.
no, Mark gets
Did Mark?
Mark
Oh.
dies.
Okay, good.
Because what is the through line is blonde men are
Blonde
bad.
men are bad. Somebody got upset that you said that recently.
I'm
To
sorry.
that person. They were
I'm
offended.
blonde. And here's like blonde women also bad. But we're
Also
just
bad.
girls.
We'll
So
put it on the record. Yeah.
like we're
I'm
just
scared
girls.
of blonde
So it's
women.
fine.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, here's another thing I want to talk about. The lair. His lair. I really liked his lair. And I thought his lair was very beautiful.
His
and I
grotto.
love his grotto. That's a better word for it. I love
That is a good word.
sea caves or whatever. I'm really interested in sea caves, though I know they're scary and descent reminiscent, and so I shouldn't go in them or whatever, but I'm interested in them. And so I like the idea of a little tunnel and it leads to a cool little grotto place. That's in a lot of my favorite little fantasy movies, and maybe, I don't know, like.
And there was a bat in there
Hook.
just for you, Monica.
Oh yeah, that was a bat. That was
Mhm.
such a funny part. That was the 3D. That's the one 3D come out and get you part. Oh my God. I'm glad you said that. I thought it was a bird. And I was like, why is this bird flying at my face? It was a bat. Okay. So funny. They had to do one gimmick with the 3D thing. Good for them. Good for them. Get your money's worth. But yeah. I mean, do we want to just move on to our segments? I don't know.
Okay, wait. I do want to mention some things in my notes while I'm looking at them.
Okay.
Well, one of my notes is wrong, I think, because I did end up looking up filming locations because my mom kept going, I wonder where they filmed. And I was glad I did, because do you know one of the places where they filmed?
Florida.
But do you know one of the other places they filmed?
A pool.
Chatsworth, California.
Oh, baby.
Where I watched this movie.
Could you
And it also
feel the
said,
Gill Man with you that night?
I felt him with me. They filmed like the camp scenes, I think, in the beginning in Chatsworth. And it also listed Sierra Canyon specifically as one of the filming locations. And I found that at a lot of places, but I don't know what that means, and I can't figure it out because Sierra Canyon, where I did go to elementary and middle school, didn't exist as a school until 1978. And it only existed as a day camp for like 6 years before that. And as far as my Sierra Canyon lore tells me, from what I remember, it was like orange groves before that. So I don't, and Sierra Canyon is not like the name of a canyon anywhere in California. Like, I don't know what they mean by that. I'm very curious if anybody else does know. But they filmed in Chatsworth, slay. I wrote in here, I like that they put 2 fish in the tank on the Universal backlot to make it seem like a real lagoon, but they did film in some real lagoons in Florida, like Sydney was saying. So maybe they were shy in front of the camera. I also have in here, I bet Sydney's loving all of these hairy chests.
I did.
Because there was some hair on some of those chests.
Here's the thing. I love hairy chests, and I want to see more man thighs.
Sure,
Like,
and those shorts were short.
The shorts are so short.
Men should dress sluttier. Come on.
Yeah.
I agree.
I liked when they had the dam scene where they come upon the dam. I liked that they didn't notice it until the very last minute, even though it was very obvious and visible. They just came right up to it, and then they were like, I tell you, nothing was there when we came in. It was put there to keep us out.
I like that the Gill Man is an engineer and a beaver. I like that he's
resourceful.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, I just, there was like all these little moments where I was just like, okay, interesting. Like, I really didn't get the mosquito spray gun plan much, although I did like that they just kept squirting him, and it worked, and it was so cloudy. I liked the scene, like we said, don't poison the Amazon waters. But I liked when we saw like the cloudy, they were like, oh, we have to wait it to go further down, and you see them like floating down.
Was visually
that was
cool.
Beautiful.
Well,
they did a lot of beautiful stuff.
They did the mosquito thing was because they didn't have that much poison left, so they couldn't poison the
target
whole fucking lagoon. Yeah, so they had to squirt them right in the face.
Like
more efficient.
You do to mosquitoes, I guess.
Exactly. That's exactly what you do to mosquitoes. Of course.
My understanding is you just wait till it lands on you and then you go. But I mean, I guess they had better technology in the 50s. We've lost some of the recipes over
I
time.
think it was a little bit of a pesticides thing. So maybe it
And then we
wasn't
learned
that
those can be
good.
bad.
Yeah, that looked like a little bit of a pesticide spraying gun. That's the vibe I was getting. So not so good. All the time. Just spray him with citronella, he'll be fine.
I need
Uh,
DEET.
but yeah,
But that doesn't kill them. That just keeps them away from you, hopefully. They had weapons for mosquitoes back in the day.
Bring it back. I have so many mosquitoes in my backyard and I hate them. I think I'm going to put a bat house in to try and combat them.
Welcoming bats onto the property.
Ooh,
Just
don't let
like
'em
the
touch
grotto.
you. Don't end up like fucking what's her name from Suspiria with a bat in your hair.
True.
It's not good. You get rabies. Okay. What
Now I'm
else
ready
did
for
I
segments.
think?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was sad at the end though when he died and they shot him a bunch of times. He died in scare quotes. He obviously didn't die because there's 2 sequels. But I was just like, just let
There might
him
be more
live his life.
species. I mean, there's
Just
that
let him
hint
live
at the
his
beginning,
life.
as discussed. Yeah,
I
and then I
know.
liked how it was just like, okay, movie's over now. Now the movie's over. Goodbye.
I like how they're like, let him go. Let him go. And they let him go back to where he feels safest, below the surface. And then he died there in his home. It was tragic. I was moved. I was upset. Okay. It's time for segments. How could this movie from 1954 be gayer?
Mark and David are in love.
Yeah, like, oh, are you fighting over Kay or is there something else going on?
It is one of those classic homoerotic rivals kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're for my version, I don't know if they're in love so much as they have an attraction to each other that they don't understand and can't put words to or name, and that feeds into the animosity and the rivalry, because it's like, you make me feel things that I don't understand and I don't want to engage with, and that makes me mad, and therefore I'm mad whenever I see you and look at you. And also we have some philosophical differences about how to do science in the Amazon.
They do have some philosophical differences.
But for sure that relationship is or should be homoerotic.
Also, the 2 guys who died at the beginning, who weren't brothers, I don't think, unless they said that. What were they doing in that
Their
tent
names were
all
like
day?
Louise and Tomas.
Yeah, I really liked them. I also thought they were both cute, and they should be boyfriends. Just saying.
They could be boyfriends.
It could have been a more tragic. I mean, I don't want gay people to die. I'm not what I'm saying, but like,
Wow, Monica canceled for the second time this
Ugh.
episode.
Wow.
Was the other time when I went to see World Camp?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just wanted to make sure. I was like,
Fair
what else
enough,
did
that
I
tracks,
do?
yeah.
I was like, yeah, no, that's fine.
You're like, no, I did that.
No,
That's
I
fine.
did go
That's
to see World
fair.
Camp.
That's valid.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like there could have been a little subplot, deleted scene where they were having sex and then they were killed by the creature. I could have gotten the 1950s anti-gay point across too. A missed opportunity from the filmmakers.
Wow, that's the whole Hays Code. If you're gonna be gay, you've got to be a villain or die, right? So
Exactly.
like, there we go.
They could have taught everyone a lesson. Jesus Christ, I'm being facetious. I'm so
Monica
sorry.
canceled a third time.
They were a little more homophobic in this movie, don't you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't know for sure that the Gill man is a man. He could be a girl, but then I remembered his 4-foot dick. So
Yeah,
there you
He
go.
could identify not as a man. He could have a 4-foot dick and be non-binary Gill person.
also,
I'm so sorry.
Like we said, we're just discovering this species, so we don't really know how biological sex or gender works for them. You could maybe be biologically female in that species and also still have a 4-foot dick. So
maybe just, you know how like females are like the bigger, badder ones? Maybe in this species, all females have 4-foot dicks.
They all have 4-foot dicks.
Or they're like an evolved. We're going back to the alien theory. Like, oh, if they exist, they must be so much more advanced than us. Well, if Gill people exist, they must be so much more advanced than us. They're beyond gender. They left gender a century ago in the Devonian era. Okay, they've just been living in the Amazon unperturbed by the gender binary, and I could see that as well.
They only like girls, though, of the human species, though, which is interesting.
Yeah, but girls of the human species are better. So
The beautiful ones, yeah. So
yeah,
They just wanted to find out what was inside of the tits.
it's called
You
they
know,
have
They're
taste.
like, what's in there?
They want to know the secret as to why her titties are so pointy.
Exactly.
But that's like the sad thing is he was just curious. Like he was
do
just like
anything to her. He
a
just wanted
curious
to
little guy.
learn more. He was also a scientist, and he's just trying to take a specimen back to his lab.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Oh, only humans can be scientists now? Wow, that's really speciesist of these characters.
I couldn't agree more. Okay. We've discussed gay things. Are there any more gay things to say?
We didn't see Kay interact with a single other woman, so
Yeah.
she could be extremely, extremely gay, and we just don't know. Especially if Mark and David, what's his name? Daniel? David. If they're off having a gay little romance rivalry, yeah, again, they're dating, but they haven't locked it down. Maybe that's Kay's beard.
So true. People
They
aren't
didn't
thinking
seem
about
that romantic
enough.
to me.
They did have that passionate kiss. That's another thing I want to say about the 50s. I like the way that they kissed in movies in the 50s.
Yeah.
It just seems like so exciting. They're like, whoa, throw my head back. Wild. It's probably because that's all they were doing was kissing because they're very chaste. And so they're like, this fucking rocks. This is rocking my socks right now. A different time. Okay. We're moving on to Matthew Lillard. Imagine Matthew Lillard in the 1950s. Where would we cast him in this movie besides as the Gillman himself?
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like he'd have to play the Gillman because he's so tall. But if we're taking that off the table,
No, okay, well, I mean, we could talk about that more.
He could be Mark or David. He would also be a great captain of Rita.
Oh,
The silly
hilarious
guy.
captain.
Yeah.
Silly captain. I could see him being a silly captain. I like all of those for him. I like him as the Gillman, though, because we know how we all feel about Matthew, and you know how I feel about the Gillman. So it's a natural pairing.
and yeah, I mean he's 6'4". That's basically Gillman height.
yeah,
So
That is Gillman height.
that's
perfect
he's
for
right
Gillman.
there. He's in the zone. One guy was 6'5" and one guy was 6'3", who
So he's right in the middle.
oh my
Exactly.
god, the perfect average.
he's the third Gillman.
Ah.
Perfect. Love that for him. Done. Signed, sealed, delivered. Okay, that brings us to Dumb Bitch. It's obvious.
Feels like it's Mark.
It's Mark.
It's Mark,
Mark.
but also a little K for swimming in the water. So far
She
away.
swam so far out. Yeah, the captain
would
told her
do
you're
the
too far
same.
out.
I would do the same thing.
Yeah, but that's
so-
because you're a dumb bitch.
I know, but I just don't want to confront that right now. I'm already sick, Sydney. I don't need this. I already got canceled 3 times this episode from my own fault.
Might as well hit you while you're already down.
God
Yeah,
damn
stay
it.
down, bitch.
Oh God. So the dumb bitch is me and Kay. No, it's Mark. Mark is
Mark.
worse. Mark wants to kill my beautiful husband. I'm really getting too involved in this thing where I'm into the Gillman. It's because of The Shape of Water.
But yeah,
He's
I
a
mean, he does a lot of
gentle
shoot
lover.
first, ask questions later, which, if you're trying to learn about other species, is not good science practice, as I understand it. You
not.
know,
He does not have a scientific mind.
Do
but
we
then
think
also
there's
to
more
put them
than
in
one
the Institute
Gillman?
of Biologica Maritima is questionable because, as you said, not only does he escape in the sequel, but also bad business practices with
Exactly.
those institutes. So. No, that was my question though to Sydney, is like, is he the one, or is this a species and he was just very
The
curious
one
and engaged
that
with
was
the
there,
humans,
you
or
know?
like this was his specific little, I guess,
Grotto.
well, do we know
It's
that the hand
hard.
in the beginning is the same Gilman that we see at the end? Because they've sailed far down that river to go find the Black Lagoon or whatever.
I don't know. And like a lot of the lore versions of this. Like I know Shape of Water came after, but I'm doing what I can here. There's like lore that like he's like a god, like a god guy underneath the water. I read the book of Shape of Water, which was really, really interesting. I think it was like a novelization, honestly. So I think it came after. But either way, it was awesome. But yeah, he's like a god-like creature, and that kind of plays into the story that the in real life at that Orson Welles dinner party, the man
The
was telling
legend.
about the legend about how he came every 10 years or a year or whatever and stole a woman and blah blah blah. That feels like a sacrifice to a god kind of thing. So there's an argument that like he's the one guy because he is a god, the god of the Amazon, or there was a whole bunch of them and they've been hunted to extinction, and that's why that guy's arm was there. Or maybe there's only one every generation. It's like the Doctor from Doctor Who, and he regenerates into another fish man later on. There's a lot
Maybe
of
he
different ways
just
to
sheds
go.
his hands, okay? Maybe he's like a snake shedding its skin, and then that's why they only found the hand and they never unearthed the rest of that skeleton, because that was an old hand he had discarded.
But yeah, or maybe he's like a lizard and his hand got cut off and he grew back another one because he's a god
There's
of
so much we
lizards.
don't know, and we'll never learn if Mark kills the only Gill man.
And
so that's why
why
he's the
Mark's
dumb bitch
the
to
dumb bitch.
circle back.
It was really beautiful. Great work.
Thank you.
Okay. That brings us to our knives out of 5. So lay it on us. That raw data.
Yeah, on IMDb, this movie has a 6.9 out of 10. And on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie is 80% fresh from critics and 74% fresh from audiences. And like Monica said, it made like 6 times its budget. So this was really kind of an unexpected success in terms of what the studio was investing in it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And like we also said, it clearly had a lot of influence on films that came after. It was kind of like the end of its era in terms of Universal monster movies, in terms of like creature features, which were so big at that time, in terms of like 3D really being on its way out. It also kind of came right at the end of movies often being in black and white, because this was around the time when people started to get TVs in their homes. And so that was really kind of the shift from when things could be in color to everything would be in color after that. So it really kind of closed out a lot of things, but it was beloved at the time, and it is clearly made its mark on cinematic history. So
yeah. So who wants to go first?
I can go because I think you liked it more than me. Like I said, I think there are circumstances under which I could really vibe with this film. There were parts of it that I liked. There were also really long stretches where I was kind of bored, and I was like, how is this movie still going, and how is there so much time left? Because I thought it was going to be really short when I started it, because it is only 79 minutes, but I feel like I've been here a long time. So in that regard, I just didn't really connect with the movie. I didn't like get that emotional buy-in at any point. Again, we didn't really learn. Every character kind of gets like one character trait, and that's kind of it.
Oh yeah, there's not.
Yeah, and we don't really get any like development for them as people or their relationships much, other than a little bit David and Kay. But that was kind of it. So it was hard for me to really like have a fun time watching. I do appreciate all the stuff I was just talking about, all the influence it had. Like the music was really good. It was really well done. The swimming scenes are beautiful. The parallel swimming scene with the Gilman and Kay, I did really like, and I did appreciate like what that was. I'm finding maybe that the slower creature feature, that is maybe just not for me necessarily a lot of the time. I like more. I don't like I want more to happen, I guess.
Chelsea likes Cocaine Bear, you know, for a creature feature.
She's a Cocaine Bear kind of girl.
I haven't seen that
If it's not
actually, but maybe
Cocaine
I'd
Bear,
love
then
it. Yeah, I don't know. It just like I could see there being a time in which this movie and I would be besties. It wasn't this viewing experience. I don't want to give it like a bad score, but I also don't really want to give it like a good score. So I'm kind of in a rock and a hard place.
3.5? 3.5
I'll
the
give
most
it,
neutral score.
but like that feels bigger than the experience that I had. But yeah, I guess 3, because to give it a 2 feels unfair to the film itself and what it was and the effect that it had. Its legacy.
I understand. They made movies different back then, so especially for this kind of schlocky thing. Yeah.
This is B-cember. It was a B movie. They were not investing in this movie that much. They weren't going to spend that much on the script. They weren't going to do more than one take for a lot of scenes. You know, they're just like, here's what it is, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
So I gave it 3.
Like 3. This movie is 1. It gets a point for only being like 79 minutes.
Sure, that's true.
It does feel longer than that, though.
It feels like a very long 79 minutes.
Like, I was shocked by it, especially because immediately after this, I watched We're Back. Do you remember that? The 1993 classic dinosaur movie?
No, I don't know that I've ever heard of this.
I've never seen that.
What?
I know.
Wow.
I was 0 years old in 1993, so I missed it.
It's a Steven Spielberg presents.
Oh, fuck.
But that movie is also, I think, a little bit shorter than this. And like
shorter than 79 minutes.
Yeah, it's like an hour-ish, like a little over an hour.
How long is The Haunting of Sharon Tate? That's
but like We're Back. Like, I was like, what do you mean it's already over? And this movie, I was like, oh my God, when is it over? But
exactly.
Like, I still had a good time with it, you know, like, and it does make me want to watch a bunch of the older, like, OG godfathers of the genre.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so yours is a 3?
Mine is a 3.
Okay, I'm gonna give this one a 3.5 because, again, it's not a movie made with Spooky Tuesday in mind, weirdly, because it was made in 1954. So yeah, it was a little slow. I felt the same way as y'all, being like, oh, there must be like 10 minutes left, and there were 40 minutes left. So it gets a little slow there, but the parts of it that I do really love were just like the makeup, not makeup, effects, makeup. I was really taken aback by that. I was deeply attracted to the Gill Man. I was very attracted to the Gill Man, and I'll have to unpack that in therapy. But again, my therapist is on maternity leave, so I have a long time before.
And I have to pack it.
I'm adding this to my list of things to bring up with my therapist once she's back from maternity leave.
It's Guillermo del Toro's
2
fault,
seconds
and
for everything.
that's the truth. So we can talk to Guillermo about it. It's his fault. But anyway, I just really liked all of the things that I learned because I watched this movie, which makes me like this movie more. I nerded out with the like research on it, which I really like to do. So that bumps it up for me. And I just feel really excited that I've seen a movie that is so influential on the genre. And so that's really exciting. And again, like you guys were just saying, this has really gotten me excited about movies from this era when I really kind of wasn't before. And so I'm excited to go on a journey of self-discovery in the 1950s horror scene and watch more Vincent Price. But yeah, so 3.5 for me. And now I can buy the shirt with Gilman's face on it, and I'm not a poser. So seems like a win-win.
And yeah, show them your background, your phone background.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, my phone background is literally Gillian Anderson, Scully, from the 90s with the fucking Gill Man, her looking sexy as all hell. That has been my background for like 6 months. So now I'm not a poser anymore.
Monica,
What?
That should be yours and Adam's Halloween costume next year.
Oh my God, that would be
He's the guilt
so funny. But also, I cannot get an outfit for Adam to make him look like that. The best I can do is the
You
polywog.
already have a morph suit. You just gotta glue a million scales to it, like they
We
did
could
for
make
this
it work.
film.
Black. I don't know if Adam would want to go into full effects makeup. I don't know if I can ask that of him, but we'll see. I can
Adam
maybe make him look like the polywog, but that's as
Here's
close
the
as we're
thing.
gonna get.
You could be Gilman and Adam could be sexy Gillian Anderson.
That would be great too. I haven't
love a
done.
gender bend.
I could go full. Oh, is it Heidi Klum who does crazy effects
Yeah, when
makeup
she was a
every
worm.
year?
Yep.
I'm gonna go full Klum on it next year. You just wait. But okay. That's closing the book. We're closing the book on Creature from the Black Lagoon. And we're opening the door to something that I've been trying to get us to do for so long. And I don't think y'all know how much you've signed up for next week because I just looked at the runtime. Sorry. But okay, what is a B movie? We just defined it earlier today. So half of this technically will not be accurate to B-cember now that we've all discussed that a B movie is the movie that plays second in a double feature. But what's more B-cember than playing a double feature itself? And what's more B-cember than playing a movie or two movies technically that were fully and completely inspired by B movies in general and all the exploitation films. This one, the ones that get way more horny and disgusting in the 60s and 70s. So we're doing it. We're talking to Quentin. We're looking him in the eye, and we are doing.
He's gonna be here. Okay.
He's gonna be here. No,
I can't wait to
no.
talk to him about his foot fetish.
We're gonna talk to him about his foot fetish. No, and only in our minds. I mean, he does run a theater that's right down the street from my house, so I could see him in the next 3 days and get him into my house to talk about this movie. No. But we're metaphorically talking to Quentin and looking him in the eye by doing 2007's Grindhouse. I'm so excited about this. If you don't know what Grindhouse is, it's two movies that played together in the theaters, like we're saying, doing the whole double feature thing that was very popular in the 60s and 70s. One is by Quentin Tarantino, and the other one is by Robert Rodriguez. And we love Robert, and Quentin has some great movies. So this is going to be a fun one. Just the whole way they did this is really fun. They have trailers in it that are fake trailers that have inspired a lot of movies. In particular, Thanksgiving, the Eli Roth movie that just came out, is based off of a trailer from the Grindhouse movies, a fake trailer. So it's influential. And have y'all seen it before?
No, I haven't seen either of them.
I've seen bits and pieces. Like they've been on TV and I've watched it for a while and then like you didn't realize what it was.
Yeah.
And like I know like Rose McGowan and her like machine
she's
gun
got the
legs. So like I've seen like I know the pop culture. I've seen it, but I've never seen it, you know?
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. We're going to have a lot to talk about. There'll be a lot that you like. There'll be a lot that you don't. And we'll go through it all. Next week on Spooky Tuesday. But okay, back to the creature just for a second. The poll question. We already decided what it was, but I forgot. Let's remind the listeners. Who else remembers? What did we say? It was
when
you,
did we
Sydney.
decide?
We did earlier in the movie. You said something about the Gill Man. Oh, would you rather him have a 4-foot dick or not? That's it.
That, or it could be, do we think like, is he the last
Is he a
one?
grower or a shower?
Is he a grower or a shower?
Does he have the dick, but we just can't see it?
Right? What if it's
There's going to be
like, what if it's just like an invisible 4-foot dick?
What if the poll is like, what's your favorite Gilman theory? And
About
one
his
theory is he
4-foot
has a
dick.
4-foot dick, but you just can't see it. And one is that he's the last of his species. And one is that he's actually a lesbian because they could be a girl and they only like ladies.
I like these.
Okay, yeah.
What's your
that's the poll
favorite
question?
possible
He's a
Gilman
god.
lore?
Okay, perfect. That's definitely better.
He's a god. That's part of the lore. Yeah, that's one of the options.
I know. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, we'll put that up. So vote. We need your vote. You need to cast your vote. It's very important.
Yeah, don't forget to
But why
vote.
not? Yeah, don't forget to vote. Why not give us a 5-star review also? I mean, it's the reason for the season. B-cember, the season of giving us not B
Buying
reviews, A
cars,
plus
giving reviews.
reviews. Yeah, exactly. And why not also follow us on social media? We're at spooky_Tuesday on everything, pretty much, but specifically YouTube, where there are YouTube episodes now, full video episodes. This one will be exciting because it's all in black and white. Ooh,
Ooh.
mysterious. You can find out if we ourselves look sexier in black and white. And honestly,
The answer is yes.
we look really good. We look great. And then we're also on Facebook and Tumblr at Spooky Tuesday Pod. And I have to say, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye, spookies.
The Black Lagoon.
Beautiful lagoon.
Another world.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Height, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamara, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_omg.